Hello, loom knitting friends. Today's video is about how to knit a garter stitch headband. This headband is knit in the round, and we'll be using short rows to make part of the headband wider than the rest. The wider part will cover most of your head, and the skinny part will go at the back of your neck under your hair. Thank you so much for watching Ms. Yarn. In today's video, we're going to cover number 1, how to mark your loom. Number 2, how to cast on. Number 3, how to knit the garter stitch body of your headband. And we'll be using a 6-row repeat, and we'll also be using short rows. Step number 4 is how to bind off using the Stretchy bind off. For the supplies, you will need a 41 peg round loom with a gauge of 13/16 of an inch. You'll need a small amount of number 6 super bulky yarn, such as Wool Ease Thick and Quick. You'll need a hook, a pair of scissors, a yarn needle, and something to mark your loom. I also want to mention that this pattern is not for complete beginners. To do this project, you should already know how to do the E-wrap knit stitch, the U-knit stitch, and the purl stitch. Let's get into the project now by marking our loom. Please mark pegs 1, 14, 15, 16, 40, and 41. On the left of the anchor peg, I marked peg 1, and on the right, you'll see pegs 41 and 40. I also taped on numbers for 14, 15, and 16. It's time to cast on. So make a slip knot and put it on the anchor peg. Now let's do a round of E-wraps from peg 1 to peg 41. So we're wrapping each peg from back to front. Do this on your own and we'll meet at peg 41. So I've gone around the loom and I'm just finishing up the E-wraps by doing pegs 40 and 41. And now it's time to do purl stitches from peg 1 to peg 41. So go ahead and purl on your own, and we'll meet after you've purled on peg 41. Here I'm just finishing up my purl stitches. And now our cast on is done. Let's make the garter stitch body by starting our 6-row repeat. Row 1 is pretty straightforward. Let's do U-knit stitches all the way around the loom, so from pegs 1 to 41. After knitting a few pegs, we can release the slip knot from the anchor peg. Now continue the U-knit stitches on your own, and let's meet when you're at peg 41. Here I'm knitting on peg 40 and peg 41. And now row 1 is done. So for row 2, let's do the purl stitch. We'll do purl stitches from pegs 1 to 41. Let's meet again when you're done. I'm completing my round of purls. And now that I've purled on peg 41, row 2 is done. For row 3, we're doing a short row. This row is a shorter row since we'll be knitting from peg 41 to peg 15, rather than going all the way around the loom. We need to knit in the opposite direction, which is towards the right. So go ahead and do these knit stitches on your own and meet me when you're at peg 15. Now I'm knitting on peg 17, 16, and 15. And now I'm going to do a wrap and turn on 14. So let's remove the loop from peg 14 and we'll keep it in the back. Now let's wrap and turn on peg 14. So just wrap that peg from behind. And now you've turned it around, so it's going in the other direction. Replace the loop on peg 14 so it just goes back on. And now you've completed your wrap and turn. And now row 3 is done. For row 4, let's purl from peg 15 to peg 40. Just ignore peg 14 for now. So you can purl on your own, and let's meet back up when you're at peg 40. Here I am purling on peg 39, then peg 40. And so to wrap and turn on peg 41, let's remove the loop and save it in the back. Wrap peg 41 from back to front, and so now you've turned the direction. Put the loop back on peg 41. Everything looks great, and now we have finished row 4. For row 5, let's knit from peg 40 to peg 16. So just ignore peg 41 for now. Go ahead and knit on your own, and let's get back together at peg 16. Here I'm knitting on peg 17, then peg 16. And so to wrap and turn on peg 15, I need to remove the loop on that peg. Let's wrap peg 15 back to front. We're turning directions. And then let's put the loop back in place. And now we have completed row 5. Row 6 is the last row in this 6-row repeat. What you're going to do is purl from peg 16 to peg 41. So go ahead and purl on your own, and let's meet again when you're done. I'm purling now on peg 39, 40, and 41. On peg 41, there are 2 loops, and that's a good thing, that's normal. I'm going to purl those 2 loops together. And now row 6 is done. You have now completed the 6-row repeat. Congratulations! Now you need to do this repeat 2 more times. But before I show you the whole pattern, I do want to show you something to expect when you do row 7. Row 7 is just like row 1, of course, so you will knit from peg 1 to peg 41. While I'm knitting here and you're just waiting to see what I want to point out, let me mention why I have chosen to do the wrap and turns in this design. I actually made several headbands, and when I did the short rows without the wrap and turns, they had big holes. And then when I added the wrap and turns, the holes were gone. So that's why I designed this headband with the wrap and turns. So here comes peg 14 and peg 15. I wanted to point out the double loops. On peg 14, please knit those 2 loops together. And on peg 15, knit 2 together again. Then keep on knitting as per usual for row 7. In fact, you should do this whole repeat, and when you've completed row 12, your loom should look something like this. You can see a skinny part and a wider part. And then you'll do the repeat again, and that will be row 13 to row 18. and your loom will look something like this. You can see that it's a bit bigger. You'll also end up doing a row 19 and 20, but let me get to that part in a second. So now you can see the whole pattern on the screen, so you can take a screenshot if you want. It will also be in the video description below, so you'll have an easy way to copy and paste it for yourself. So on the left side, you see the first 6-row repeat that we completed together. That was for rows 1 to 6. In the middle is the repeat for rows 7 to 12. And on the right is the repeat for rows 13 to 18. So go ahead and do these repeats. You know what to do. And then for row 19, I'm not going to demonstrate that because this is a knit round that you've done already. It's just like row 1. And row 20 is something you can do on your own as well. You're going to do a purl round as if it's row 2. And after you've completed row 20, let's meet again to do the stretchy bind off. Now it's time to do the stretchy bind off together. First, we need to cut the yarn. So let's wrap our loom twice, and then we'll cut the yarn. Now we can do the stretchy bind off with either a yarn needle or with a hook. I'll start by demonstrating with a yarn needle. So let's thread our needle, and let's remember the words down, up, behind. Let's bring our yarn down peg 1, up peg 41, and behind peg 1. Excellent. Then down peg 2, up peg 1, then behind peg 2. Let's move down peg 3, up peg 2, and behind peg 3. Let's go down peg 4, and then I'll go up peg 3 with my hook instead of my yarn needle. Then go behind peg 4. Now it's down peg 5 with the hook, then up peg 4, and then behind peg 5. Now you can continue the bind off on your own, and let's meet up again once you've gone all the way around the loom. Here I've gone ahead and now I'm going down peg 41, up peg 40, and behind peg 41. And then I'm going to go down peg 1. I'm having to redo it because I caught an extra thread. And now I can start removing the headband from the loom. So starting on peg 2, let's remove our project from the loom, stitch by stitch. This part always feels good. Now our project is off the loom. So let's look at our work. This is the skinnier section that we can wear under our hair. And this wider section will cover our head and ears. Now let's stretch it out to make the garter stitch stand out a bit more. I think it's looking fantastic. Now our next step is to weave in the ends. So I'm thinking that this is the right side of the headband and that this is the wrong side. It is hard to tell. I'm going to say that this is the wrong side because the cast on edge seems to be a bit less integrated with the garter stitch. So I'm going to weave in the ends inside the skinnier section of the headband, since that part will go under my hair. So I'll use my yarn needle to bring the yarn closer to the middle of the project, and I'm going to make some zigzags. And then I'm going to cut off the tail. So now let's weave in the other tail. Again, I'm going to bring the yarn closer to the middle of that skinnier part. And then I'm going to do some zigzags. And then when I'm comfortable, I'm going to cut the tail. So that is my tutorial for this garter stitch headband with short rows. I had a lot of fun designing this and knitting it and making this video. So I hope you enjoyed it and can make one of your own. See you soon.